Hi guys, and welcome to episode 31 of If This Car Could Talk. Last Sunday, in episode 30, we featured a really cool 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner hardtop, done in the tradition of a Day 2 build. If you haven't seen it, you'll find it in the archives of our channel. If you have seen it, you'll remember it has the awesome 440 tri-power engine on board, and the coolest hood of the muscle car era. Yes, it's got a genuine lift-off fiberglass scooped hood that was originally used on these cars. Because the Roadrunner nameplate was one that was synonymous with performance, many iconic cars were assembled. However, after 1971, the name was mostly used on cars that had reduced their horsepower, were laden with comfort and convenience options, or, as in the case of the last cars, became a cosmetic package only. For these reasons, this video will concentrate on the first 3 years of these mythical cars. Please subscribe to this channel if you like a wide variety of cars that we feature, plus the personal stories from their owners. It's free and ensures you'll never miss one of our twice-weekly videos. So sit back and enjoy the history lesson on one of the supercar era's brightest stars, the Plymouth Roadrunner. By 1968, the American muscle car wars were in full swing. Even American Motors, along with traditionally conservative makes like Buick and Oldsmobile, were on the streets with their latest performance car offerings. What a great time to be alive if you were a muscle car enthusiast. Plymouth had been in it since the very beginning of this magical era with their Max Wedge cars, and by 1966, the 426 Street Hemi offerings. In 1967, they debuted their now classic GTX models, and in 1968, the legendary Roadrunner. The name for this new entry into the muscle car field was quite ingenious. At the time, a series of Saturday morning cartoons depicted a coyote chasing the amazingly quick and agile Roadrunner. It was very popular. For those that remember, the coyote, known as Wile E. Coyote, always had plans to capture the elusive Roadrunner by using inferior products from the Acme Company, to no avail. To secure the rights to use the images of both characters, Chrysler paid Warner Brothers 7 Arts Studios a bargain price of $50,000, plus an additional $10,000 for the well-known beep beep uttered by the Roadrunner throughout each animated episode. This would be used for the horn, which was quite a novelty at the time. It's doubtful that Paul Julian, who voiced the uncatchable bird, ever thought that he'd be heard every time a Roadrunner driver honked his horn. The original concept of the Roadrunner was to offer the car-buying public a no-frills, basic, high-performance car that had performance-oriented standard features, plus a few options like power steering and brakes. Bendix supplied 4-piston brake calipers for the front, AM radio, and an automatic transmission. It seems that all of the other manufacturers may have had cars like this in their lineup at some point, but most customers wanted a muscle car that had many different available convenience features as well. Plymouth would change all of that with the Roadrunner, a car tailored for the purest driver who simply wanted a fast car without any extras. It was based on the entry-level Belvedere, while the upscale GTX was based on the Satellite. This positioned the new Roadrunner as a sensible alternative to the more expensive and imposing GTX. First offered in a pillared hardtop body style, or coupe, the hardtop came along soon afterward. Both rode on a 116-inch wheelbase, typical of mid-size autos of the era. Regardless of body size, the new Roadrunner had a standard 383 cubic inch engine, now dubbed the 383 Roadrunner engine, putting out a very respectable 335 horsepower. It was derived from the B-Series engine family and equipped with a Carter AFB carburetor, or aluminum 4-barrel, and a camshaft from the 440 Super Commando on non-air-conditioned cars. Cars with AC would get the milder standard 383 camshaft, rated at 330 horsepower, to supply needed vacuum to the AC system. A 4-speed manual transmission, known as the A833, was also standard. Even the earliest cars did not have carpeting. Instead, using a utilitarian rubber floor mat under the all-vinyl bench seat. A bone stock 383 4-speed Roadrunner covered the quarter mile in 14.35 seconds. If a customer bought a 425 horse Hemi-powered car, it was only a shade faster at 14.32. The Hemi was really a power plant designed for sustained high RPM driving, like NASCAR racers were required to do. Nonetheless, by 1968, this elephant motor, as it was now nicknamed, was legendary. Chrysler had originally hoped to sell 20,000 cars that first season, but instead delivered the keys to about 45,000 new car buyers. That may not sound like much, but in a heavily contested marketplace that defined American performance cars during that era, it was only exceeded by two others, the Pontiac GTO and the Chevrolet Chevelle SS396. Because this new model made such an impact on the market, Motor Trend magazine selected it for their coveted Car of the Year award. The 1969 Roadrunner would follow the same basic formula as its predecessor. However, a third body style, a convertible, was now proudly part of the Roadrunner family. This formula, known as the budget supercar, was very successful for Plymouth. Base prices for the 1969 model year were affordable for nearly every new car buyer, with the coupe costing $2,945, the hardtop at $3,083, and the drop top, being the most expensive, came in at $3,313. Still quite a bargain when considering the package. Later on in the year, the 390 horse 446 barrel engine option could be ordered through regular channels, and they proved to be extremely lethal on the street and on the drag strip. Considering how they were equipped, there's little wonder as to why. Check this out. They were available as both a hardtop or coupe, and featured a lift-off fiberglass hood with a menacing scoop that read 446 barrel on either side of it, along with the A833 4-speed or the nearly indestructible A727 Torque Flight 3-speed automatic. Either tranny sent the power back to a Dana 60 rear axle with 410 gears with the Sure Grip feature. Man, what a car! In addition, fancy wheels or even hubcaps were considered by Plymouth to be unnecessary, so the A12 cars had painted steel wheels secured via chrome lug nuts. The heart of this package was, no doubt, that awesome 440 engine, beefed up by engineers to take the abuse that a performance car would experience. The most obvious feature of the 446 barrel was the induction system. Incidentally, the Dodge cars were dubbed 446 pack. Early cars all had manifolds cast by Edelbrock with the Chrysler part number, and it's still available from Edelbrock today. It was made out of aluminum and topped with 3 Holley 2-barrel carbs. But because these cars were selling well and Chrysler wanted to maximize profits, it was decided that after the initial 1,500 or so intakes were depleted, a Chrysler cast iron manifold would replace it. But the Holley carbs were still up top, metering out the fuel for this thirsty beast. This package catapulted the A12 Roadrunner to the 50 fastest muscle cars of all time. The Roadrunner could be had as a coupe, weighing 3,455 pounds in standard trim. A hardtop tipped the scales at 3,450 pounds, and the convertible, not surprisingly the heaviest, at 3,790. Buyers had many choices as to how they would equip their new purchase, because the option list was now extensive. If properly spec'd, it was no longer a budget muscle car, but a nicely optioned, but still potent performance car that a new owner could enjoy in several ways. 1969 would be the year that more performance-oriented options became available on these budget Mopars. Bucket seats were popular, and a new air grabber hood using option code N96 helped to keep fresh, cooler air coming into the engine compartment. Additionally, 23 exterior colors could be ordered, multiple interior trim colors and materials, various wheel combos, and many more features that could all be combined to produce some truly rare and unusual combinations, which many collectors and Mopar aficionados covet over a half a century later. 1970 saw the Roadrunner getting a facelift with many new styling changes seen, but the basic formula of options and the addition of a new supercar were the most notable differences for the year. The newest member of the Roadrunner family was the wildest imaginable. It was called the Plymouth Roadrunner Superbird and is revered by virtually all enthusiasts today, no matter what their allegiance. Because there's so much info that can be found on these winged cars, I'll leave it up to you to look into these NASCAR-inspired models yourself. If you're not familiar with the story, I'd encourage you to research it. What is now commonly called the Aero Wars between Chrysler and Ford only lasted a few years, but it illustrated how serious these two companies were at winning races with no regard to cost. 1971 Roadrunners were completely restyled, and although the name would persevere for another decade, the kings of the performance engines would bow out by model year's end, with the unceremonious demise of both the Hemi and the 446 engines. These second-gen cars would be built until 1974, replaced in 1975 by a one-year design based on the Chrysler Cordoba. The final models, dubbed by collectors as the fourth generation, was nothing more than an appearance package on the wildly popular F-body Plymouth Volare. However, if a buyer was able to special order a car with careful consideration to options, a really cool example could be had, and with respectable performance too, especially during this era of mostly generic and smog-choked cars. 1980 would be the last year for this iconic model name. If you could use a time machine, which Roadrunner would you order and what options would you add on? Why that combination? Please send us your comments. This is the first time we're asking our viewers to let us know how they'd option a car based on what our feature car is that week. I think it'll be fun to see if you guys like pure muscle, luxurious muscle, or something in between. If you've ever owned a Roadrunner or similar B-body Mopar, tell us about it. We'd love to know. Thanks for watching this episode. We appreciate all of you doing so, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel so you don't ever miss one of our twice-weekly videos. It's free, so what are you waiting for? Next Sunday's feature car is one I know you'll all like. It's a 1967 Dodge Dart that's been transformed into a 1968 super stock Hemi clone with a modern 5.7-liter engine. It's very nicely done and was owner built in his garage. Until then, be careful out there.